let's zoom in a little, Khalden. Let's look at the African continent as a whole. The South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has made it a point to invite leaders from about 30 African countries, and there has been a visible push for Africa and its interests to be met, especially at a time when, of course, the BRICS Summit that we are seeing, there's only one African country, which is South Africa, but somehow Cyril Ramaphosa is kind of bringing all the interests of the African continent, and there's been a visible push for it. Why do you think that's the case?
You know, let's go back a bit to when South Africa assumed the chairship of Summit. President Ramaphosa was not apologetic about how he would push Africa agenda on it. He has always said South Africa has gained a lot from the BRICS as well as the New Development Bank, and he wants the same opportunity, doors of opportunities to open for other African countries as well. So he said South Africa has benefited in terms of, you know, big infrastructure projects that has been funded by the New Development Bank. And that is why he said he emphasized that at least heads of states from 30 African countries has been invited. He's giving them an opportunity to have talks with other BRIC blocs as well. For instance, Brazil is going to have talks with them. Brazil, in fact, the President Lula da Silva did meet the South Africa's current ruling party, ANC, this morning. And we are hearing President China Xi Jinping will have an Africa dialogue on the last day of the summit, that's on the 24th. So, you know, these are just some of the opportunities that Ramaphosa has been very clear from the beginning, saying he will push for Africa agenda in the BRICS Summit.
All right, that's a very clear messaging there. Now, Khalden, we are being told that Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, has also landed in Johannesburg. He, of course, is in South Africa on behalf of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is also attending the summit, but virtually. How are the other BRICS leaders and countries seeing this? How are they assessing the situation?
Russian President Vladimir Putin may not be present here in person, but if you go through the program of the BRICS, every session they've put his name, saying he will be joining every session virtually. In fact, later this evening, they have a statement by each leaders from the BRICS, and his name is there. He will be giving statements virtually as well. So, Sergei Lavrov representing, obviously, he's got...
All right, Khalden, if you could just pause for a second. We are getting some live visuals from Johannesburg, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is meeting with the Indian diaspora as we speak. All right, there are some visuals coming in from Pretoria, of course, where the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just landed for the BRICS Summit, and ahead of the diplomatic arrangements, he is meeting with the Indian diaspora. Khalden, if you could continue the point you were making about Lavrov and how BRICS is seeing Putin's no-show in a way, but also how important that is for Russia and the BRICS bloc.
Yes, so I was just talking about Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who is here representing his president. I think if he came here, but I think all the orders and the final decisions and the statements are going to be made by the president himself, that's Putin himself. So like I mentioned earlier, that if you go through the BRICS program, every session they've added Vladimir Putin's name. In fact, the statement will also be delivered by himself. So I think the little bilateral meetings and the side meetings that will take place on the sidelines of the summit, of course, Sergei Lavrov will be there in person representing Putin. And like I said, every meeting that already has been pre-planned, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, there's the security. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been asked to switch off my phone and go in because the security here for Prime Minister is very tight.
All right,
Okay,
Khalid, we understand. All right, that was our correspondent Khalid Ongmu reporting live from South Africa, getting you live updates, what's happening on the ground, where world leaders have gathered for the BRICS 2023 summit. We just saw Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi land in Pretoria. He was greeted by the South African delegation, of course, and shortly after that, he also witnessed a dance performance by the South Africans. Now, at this point, it also becomes important to tell all our viewers there's a strong buzz around a possible meeting between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Now, in recent years, of course, the border tensions have been high between the two countries, and they have only been growing in the past 3 years. Chinese aggression has sparked clashes along the mostly rugged and mountainous border, which is known as the line of actual control. Now, it becomes important how this issue will pan out in case there is a sit-down between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping. But in case that happens, of course, the border standoff is definitely going to be on the cards. Now, of course, as we told you, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in South Africa for the BRICS Summit, and there is a lot of excitement among the Indian community in the country. My colleague Alison Lagrange has interacted with some of them at Hotel Sun in Johannesburg, where Prime Minister is shortly due to arrive.